Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome, Dreamforce Day 3. My name is Tyler Montgomery. I'm the Senior Engineering Manager for Team Trailhead. Thank you for clapping. That's my team over here, so thanks for attending. So, let's just take a minute, meet your neighbors. Seriously, go meet somebody you don't know. It's Dreamforce, all about connections. So turn around, give somebody a high five. I want to see at least 7 high fives. 7 high fives. All right, that doesn't count. Come on, high fives over here. Luis, high fives. Okay, cool. Great, so all about connections, meeting each other. Yeah, Dreamforce. So I might be making forward-looking statements. Please refer to our website for any pricing or investment decisions. You've seen this slide before. I'm going to give you 2 seconds to read it. Great, good job reading it. So short story of Trailhead. Where have we been? Where are we going? So this talk's all about scaling Trailhead and building Trailhead on Heroku. So if you don't know, Trailhead is built on the Heroku platform. And we use the Force.com platform as well, but the majority of it's on Heroku. So badges available in 2014. There were 11 badges available when we launched. Trailhead was a side project that has gotten out of control, obviously, looking around here. Today, 2017, we have 261 badges available for you to learn all the amazing things about Salesforce. Badges earned in 2015, 300,000 badges in the year of 2015. Last month, you all went out and earned 518 badges. Good work. I think we're almost to 4 million badges total. We're getting there. Yeah, we're doing great. So what is Heroku? People come here. I get it all the time. We work at Salesforce. We love Heroku, but what is Heroku? What can Heroku do for you? So Heroku says it is the best platform for building with modern architectures, innovating quickly and scaling precisely to meet demand. So that's great. What does that actually mean? That means you can deploy applications onto the Heroku platform in any of these great languages. So Trailhead is built in Ruby and Node, but you can have Java, Python, Go, Clojure, PHP, and Scala as well, which is awesome. And these things are fully managed services. So these are fully managed containers. It makes it easy to spin up web apps in any of these languages, have background workers, scheduled tasks, and nothing. The important thing here is there's nothing to patch, nothing to upgrade. Heroku maintains the language and frameworks for you, which is awesome. So you write your code, you push it to Heroku, and you make it work. So next slide coming up here. Deploying apps on Heroku is super simple. So in this app, I have a little app that helps me find BART parking here in the Bay Area. And I checked in some changes. I pushed it to Heroku, git push Heroku master. Heroku notices it's a Ruby app, it's a Rails app, and it fires up the container for me. There's nothing I have to configure, nobody I have to call to set up servers. It fires it up for me, and it's up and running in the cloud, which is amazing. So amazing things I don't have to worry about as a developer. SSL, security, certs, doing all that. Heroku out of the box for a free dyno is going to set all that up for you. So your app is free. The free level is good to go with security and SSL. Routing, network routing. None of my engineers here do network routing. We don't do any of that. Heroku sets this all up. You're up and running on the internet super quick. So that's awesome. We love that about Heroku. Heroku is also a database as a service. You have Postgres database, Redis key value store, and Kafka, the data streaming service, are all available as managed databases in the cloud. So again, nothing to patch, nothing to upgrade. Heroku takes care of all of that for you. So as new versions of Postgres come out, they're going to upgrade those things. You might have to do a little work to get your app up and running and upgrade it to the next version, but Heroku is going to manage that whole process for you. Other great thing about Heroku Connect, you get your Salesforce data into your Postgres app, or you go from Postgres back to Salesforce. So let's say you're here at the conference, you fire up a little app to collect leads on your phone, you collect leads, they go into your Heroku database, and then you sync them over into your Salesforce as contacts, and then your sales team has contacts to work with in Salesforce. So how do we use Heroku at Trailhead? So 3 main areas: trust, scale, and release. I'm going to talk about. So let's dive into trust. So trust is our #1 value at Salesforce. So we want to make things secure for our customers, for all our learners out there. So we do that with private spaces. So we have a network boundary in private spaces. So we're cordoned off from everybody else. It's our own private network for our apps and our databases. So this is super important. We control access to our data. The databases only accept connections from apps within the network. That's super important. You don't want to give out production credentials and not know who's accessing them. We know who's accessing them because it's within the private space itself. So the other cool thing about private spaces is our dynos or our Ruby apps run on dedicated runtime. So we're not in a multi-tenant environment. So this is really great for if you need hardcore fast speed, but you don't want to spend a lot of time setting up this network routing, setting up a virtual private cloud. This is all done for you. So that's really important. And the big thing is my team doesn't have to maintain this. Heroku does this for us. So we want to make sure things are surfaced quickly, issues come to the surface quickly, and it's really easy to do with Heroku. So we have our dyno there, and we have 3 ways we do this. So we're using 3 different styles. So we use New Relic, Librado, and Sumo Logic. We get each of the apps is directly integrated with New Relic, so we can see all of the data about all of the apps, about the behavior, about the infrastructure in New Relic. We can build alerting and do analytics on that data, and then send out alerts to PagerDuty that goes out to my engineers and me on our phones and into our Slack channel. We also do it with Librado, and it's just an add-on. It's one click, Librado fires up, and you get low-level data about your Heroku, Postgres instance, about Redis, memory usage, disk usage, all that stuff you can see, and you can alert when you're maybe nearing your limit. You might need to upgrade to the next package, which is great. And then we use log drains to get our logs into Sumo Logic and out, and we can do great analytics reporting there and fire off alerts. So if there's something going wrong, we have a whole bunch of people not able to complete stuff. We're going to know about it really, really quickly and be able to solve it. The other big thing in trust here is compliance. So this is a private Sheild product. Now we don't use this, but I know people who do. So Heroku is now HIPAA compliant, which is awesome, because if you're building healthcare apps, it's a lot of work to get HIPAA compliance up and running, especially on AWS. I worked for a company that did this, and they had one guy who was a front-end developer who also knew how to build stuff on AWS. So if they had something go wrong, they had to pull him off the project. And he'd have to go work and do all this DevOps work, and then take away from new business features. The engineering manager actually ended up doing this work for himself because he couldn't find anyone to hire. This is a hard thing to hire, is to have people build these services and maintain these things for you. So we're really lucky with Heroku is that I don't have to hire engineers to maintain, to babysit these things to make sure we're compliant. Heroku does that for us, which is awesome. So let's talk about scale. How do we make Trailhead get bigger, go faster, enable all of our learners? So there's a couple of trade-offs you have, right? You're setting up a new app. Do we need to set up our own data center? Do we want to build it on AWS, or do we want to build it on Heroku? And there's some trade-offs here, and your technology choices will reflect the kind of team that you build. And so for us, we've decided to go with Heroku, and so all of the devs on my and Ruben's team, our other engineering manager, we're focused on delivering and building features on Heroku and not setting up infrastructure and not working with a data center, building data center, or managing stuff on AWS. So I like to say Heroku's the carpenter. Amazon Web Services, it's the tool shed. It's great. People build great apps and great products on AWS, but it's the tool shed. If you've gone onto the AWS console, you know it's like there's a million things out there. What do I do with all these? Heroku knows how to put those things together, and you can just deliver apps on top of that great stuff in AWS. So Heroku knows how to build the stuff. We don't have to worry about it. So several years ago, I worked for a company who had their own data center, and there was a forest fire. We lived in Boulder, Colorado, and the data center provider forgot to shut off the air conditioning system, and it started sucking smoke into the data center, and we were worried that our work was literally going to go up in smoke. Do I want to worry about this? No, I don't want to worry about this anymore. It was really scary. So you have to make some trade-offs with your technology, and with Heroku, we don't have to worry about this. So at Trailhead, we like to keep Trailhead weird. We have buttons that say it. You can't get these anywhere else. You have to work for Team Trailhead. So they're not here. Don't go hunting for them. But on the engineering side, we want to keep Trailhead boring. And this is when you pick technologies, is trying to pick maybe some boring technologies. You may not want to pick the biggest, brightest, shiniest technology out there. And there's some trade-offs with this. You might be able to solve some really cool problems with some new cutting-edge databases, but do you want to be solving those problems, or do you want to be solving problems for your business, or do you want to be babysitting new technology? And for us, the choice is really easy. We want to go with tested and tried technology that's been proven and adopted throughout the community that Heroku knows how to support for us. So we do a great job with Postgres, Redis, and Kafka is all you really need. And again, I worked for a company where a developer went off and decided, hey, MongoDB, it's the new thing, it just came out, let's use it, it's going to solve all of our problems. He spent 3 months building a driver in Ruby before there was any support in Ruby, and went off, built a product on it, showed it to the sales team, they went and started selling it, and then he quit. My boss came to me and my other developer and said, you have 6 weeks to get it working. And we just looked at each other. It was one of the hardest 6 weeks of my career. And we had to figure out how to get it working, get it up and running. We ended up moving the app to Postgres. So Heroku's for scaling, scale when we need it in 2 ways. So we can get bigger, more powerful dynos, so you can go up the stack, so you can get more RAM, more compute power, or you just scale horizontally and get more dynos. So this is a really great choice for us. So we can go big, nice, gnarly dynos if we need it, And then, or we can just get more smaller dynos. It depends how you want to scale, and that's really cool. And this is super easy. This is point and click in the Heroku interface. The cool thing is my dev team here, which they did last week, they made a bunch of stuff way faster right before Dreamforce. We can actually scale back the size and the amount of dynos as we make improvements to the app. So we didn't have huge capital outlay buying huge, gigantic servers, and then the dev team is going to make stuff better anyway in 6 months, and then we're sitting there with servers doing nothing. With Heroku, we use what you pay for what you use, and you scale when you need it. So another great feature we use are database followers. So this is really cool. So Trailhead Web, that's the app you're seeing on the screens behind you and you've been using in Quick Start. That writes and reads from our master Postgres database. Really simple to set up in the interface. We set up a follower. That's a real-time replica. Now, if you've ever had to set this up yourself, you know this is not very easy to do. Likely you need to hire a DBA to do this work and to maintain this connection and make sure the stuff is working. Heroku has figured this out and has automated this process. It's super easy in the interface, point and click, and you can have that follower up and running. The cool thing about followers, real-time replica, so your data is backed up in real time, but those are read-only databases, so you can execute SQL queries against them, or you can even point other apps like our Trailhead API. We point at that read-only replica, the follower, which is really cool. That ends up in turn powering Trailhead Tracker. So the cool thing here is that Trailhead Tracker is going to send queries for all of the users in your org, all the thousands of people doing Trailhead badges in your org, and try and fetch that data back. We don't want that load to interrupt our learners learning Trailhead, so we've split it off so we have that master-slave relationship or that master-follower relationship, and that's super easy for us to set up with Heroku. Other cool thing we can do is we have data clips. So data clips allow us to select which database we want to run ad hoc SQL queries against. So this is cool because we have a data scientist on staff, and we said, you know what? We don't want to give you the production credentials to the database. That's a bad idea. But what he can do is we can give him access in the Heroku interface to data clips. So he can go in here and write ad hoc SQL queries. So this is a real query that we wrote when we found our millionth badger last year, the person who earned the millionth badge on Trailhead. And a year later, we're at like 4 million badges. It's amazing. So this is a real query that we can write. And then the cool thing is you hit that share and export button up there, you can share it in JSON, CSV, Microsoft Excel, or XML, so you can pipe this into other systems and give a small amount of access. So we give this to like our marketing people, and they develop reports and presentations based on this data. This doesn't interrupt my dev team. We have a data scientist that does this. This is a really great product to use. So how do we get our apps out there? How do we release our apps? So we love Heroku Pipelines. Heroku Pipelines is awesome. Cheer if you love Heroku Pipelines. Yay! Woo! Heroku Pipelines is awesome. We love it. We get review apps, auto deploys, GitHub integration, CI integration, air guitars, yes! So, makes it really fun. So, our Trailhead pipeline works like this. We have 4 stages in our pipeline. It comes with 3 by default, but we like 4. You know, we like to turn it up to, well, I guess 4 instead of 11. So right here we see as PRs come in from GitHub, the pull requests come in, my team's working, they show up in this review category over here on the left of the screen. The developers can go in and click one button and they have a whole Heroku environment spun up for them with their code from their branch that's not been checked in yet. So this is great because we do move our work left in the process, move it earlier in the process to get review from our quality engineers, to get our product managers looking at stuff. Our UX designers can look at stuff really, really early in the process before we've integrated the code with the main line. So PR1's ready to go. Code got approved. Everything's looking good. We're going to merge it to our develop branch, which runs on another stage in our pipeline where all of our code comes in and we get it integrated really early in the process. So we don't have any problems with really long-running features where you try and merge it in and it's like, oh, nothing works, we broke everything. We can move really, really fast and really nimbly. So PR2, same thing. We fire up the review app. It looks good. We're going to merge it to develop. And OK, we're at the end of our 2-week sprint. So Cody's helping us point out some good points here. So at the end of our 2-week sprint, the develop app is up and running in its own Heroku environment, has its own database. It's separate from everything else. Each part of the stage. This is like, if you've seen Scratch orgs and Scratch orgs with pipelines, it's really the same thing. And that's what Scratch orgs and pipelines came from this flow that Heroku developed. So develop's ready to go. We're at the end of our 2-week sprint. We cut a release branch, and we're going to go through that release branch with a fine-tooth comb. We're going to find every problem in that. We're going to fire off with Heroku webhooks to external systems that are going to run tests against that. And it has its own URL, and everyone can go look at it. The product can sign off on things. QA can sign off. Everyone can make sure that the next version of Trailhead that we release, now we release Trailhead every 2 weeks. So we do 25 releases a year. So Salesforce, 3 times a year. Heroku, Trailhead, we do it 25 times a year. So we're always releasing small bits at a time. We do this with feature flags, so we rolled out a bunch of new features last week, so we worked on these features for a few months, but when they're ready, we can turn them on. We can see them early in these pipelines, in this process, so employees that are internal to the team are reviewing what we're able to do much, much earlier in the process, and we're making sure we're building the right things and making decisions really early. So the release has been signed off. Woohoo, we're done. Yeah, let's merge to master. So getting this out into master is really easy. Our staging pipeline, we run a Rails app. If you know about deploying Rails app, you have the asset pipeline. It takes forever to get all the assets compiled and ready to go. We do that on staging. When staging's ready, we click one button in the interface. Those dynos get copied over to the production instance. We spin down the existing ones and we spin up the new ones. This literally takes minutes. And if your app is a fairly small new app, it takes seconds. It's really, really cool. So this is how we release our code. And that's it. Those are the features we use at Heroku. So, trust, scale, and releases. We use a variety of their Heroku products. Now, if you want to know more info about Heroku, we have all kinds of cool stuff you can do. We have 3 modules on Trailhead. We have a quick start project. You can go do it back at Camp Quick Start over here. They'll help you get it set up. Or you can go over to the Heroku booth just behind us and earn some cool swag. They have some cool stuff over there. And and we'll be around for questions. My team's down here. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time and have a good Dreamforce. All right. We have, I think, 3 minutes. I know we're a little behind. Do we have time for questions or we want to move on? All right, let's just move on. All right, so you can come find us. We're all sitting down here in the front row if you have more questions. And thank you for coming.